Welcome back to Irish Bill's Twist on Sports. This is Irish Bill with Seminole Bob. He's that guy sitting next to me. Has been for about the last, 3 or 4 years?
Yeah, seems like forever.
Yes, some days it seems like forever. But this Irish Bill's Twist on Sports. We're here at Culver's in downtown Navarre, blocking a bridge from beautiful Navarre Beach, Florida. We're here at Culver's, home of Honey and Randy Smith's, one of their 3 locations, also in Fort Walton Beach and Destin. I believe Honey spends most of her time down at the new location in Fort Walton Beach.
Okay.
And but they welcome us in here every Wednesday during high school football season, and we are into week 7.
Good gravy.
Gosh, you know what? It seems like it takes forever for the football season to get here.
And then when it gets here,
then you look behind you, and there it goes.
Yeah.
It goes out the back door, but we're into week 7.
Mm-hmm.
Navarre with their off week, so we won't talk about that game from last week. What we'll do is we'll talk about the game coming up tomorrow night.
Yep.
In Panama City, where the Raiders will face off with Mosley. The last time these two teams played in Panama City, it was a cold, dreary October night in 2011.
Wow.
The Raiders went 5-5 that year, and a season that was the last one for Coach Chad Lashley before Coach Jay Walls came in. And but that was the last time that we played over there. They came over here last year and kind of did a little bit of a tap dance on us.
Yes, not a team you want to schedule for homecoming, but
not at all.
But very impressive. Very impressive.
Most definitely. We're going to talk a little bit about Navarre's offensive and defensive leaders, and we're going to talk about Mosley's offensive defensive leaders. I did my research. You're used to doing all the research, Bob. This time I went and did a little bit of research myself. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to go over the scores from last week. We had some close games. I was out at the Niceville Crestview game, a game that was pretty much dominated by Crestview for a little over 3 quarters, but that's why you play 48 minutes. And Niceville came back and ended up winning that one 13-9. And the other games that went on, we'll talk about a little bit as well. Then we're going to go over to our high school, our Irish Bills Super 7 Panhandle Power Rankings. Not much change at the top, but we got a big game coming up Friday night out at Pine Forest between our top 2 teams.
Yep, that's going to be one that, boy.
And, it will be on TV Friday night, so Channel 35 if you got DirecTV. So I don't even have to drive out there. I could sit at the comfy confines of the Hamill household and watch the game from my living room on the big screen TV, which is what you can do tomorrow night. Irish Bill's Twist on, actually Irish Bill's Sports.com is one location. Irish Bill Sports Live on YouTube.com. That's a great place to go as well. And you can watch the game tomorrow night.
If you can't make the trip?
Not too many people are going to make that Thursday night trip to Panama City, but Navarre will always send quite a few faithful over there, so we plan on getting over there a little early. Unfortunately, my counterpart will not be able to make it tomorrow night, senior night for the swim team.
Yep.
His daughter is going through her senior
walk
the
deck.
Is it swim?
No, we walked instead of walk the plank.
The parents got to jump in the pool too.
Yeah.
She probably like to just throw you in the pool.
Pretty much. Yeah. So at our baby.
Wow.
Senior night.
Your last one.
Yeah, last one. Not too many meets left with Mary Moore, who is the head coach.
Does a great job.
Teaches there at Navarre High School. So I can't thank her enough. One of the best decisions I ever made as YMCA director was hiring her. I did not know her, and so she's been coaching our girls since they were 9 years old, so almost 10 years of coaching our kids. Yep, senior night, and so we
got some picks coming up this week. I'll tell you how Joe is catching up.
He is. Joe's the man.
Joe does his research. Either that or he cheats. I don't know which one. I haven't figured it out yet.
Yeah.
After that first week, 14-14, he has pretty much been the best man in high school. And we're all pretty even in the college picks. But Joe's been catching us up over the last couple of weeks. And since we only got one, it's going to be hard for him to catch me, especially since he's about 3 behind, if I remember right. But we'll talk about those picks coming up, high school and college. Then we'll get on to our former Navarre Raiders. Where are they now? Mm-hmm. And then we'll finish up with the Gulf South Conference, where we had a team last week score 70 in a game against an opponent that you're not used to hearing someone give up 70, even though they did it in a championship game last year.
It wasn't shorter, was it?
No, it was actually Valdosta State. Gave up 70 points last week.
Holy mackerel.
Then we'll talk about the SIAC Conference as they start league play. It's starting to heat up in the SIAC Conference as well. Mm-hmm. But let's get right into this matchup about tomorrow night. We got Navarre hitting the road. 7 o'clock kickoff, that's Central Time. 6:30 will be our pregame, also Central Time. And we'll be getting over there. Be going over with my son Brady. He'll be doing his first game along with his good friend Trevor Kessner. That'll be joining us on the broadcast, and it should be a good time tomorrow night. They're going to split halves. One's going to do the first half on the mic, and the other one's going to do the camera. Then they're going to flip flop for the second half. So that way they both get a little bit of experience. What they want to do is they want to do their own podcast in the future. So I figured, why not get them on the air so they can start to experience it a little bit.
Absolutely. Trevor grew up playing sports at the Y, and enjoy him and his family. Great folks. And Brady Hamill's not too bad. He's got a wonderful mom and dad too, as
mainly
as
mom.
Does Trevor.
Mainly mom.
So I've heard.
But yeah, so that should be entertaining tomorrow night. Like I said, 7 o'clock kickoff on Irish Bill Sports Live on YouTube and irishbillsports.com on my website. So. And put it on your big screen if you go to YouTube. That way you can watch it on the big screen at home, wherever you're at, and you can sit down, have dinner, and enjoy a little bit of Navarre football on a Thursday night.
Yeah, it'd be something if one of our local establishments like Stripes or Johnny Houston's, or they would put it on.
They used to. They used to
really?
put our broadcast on Johnny Houston's.
Well, what?
Then we had quite a bit of latency and bandwidth issues, and it just ended up not going over very well. So we've fixed all of those issues after week 2, and we're plugging away now and putting out a pretty good product. Joe. All I can think of is those birds when I start doing that. That was from Finding Nemo, wasn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, sorry I couldn't make it out last week. Joe, my baby, the youngest, was not feeling well. Mom stayed home. When your 18-year-old is curled up on the bathroom floor, upchucking in the middle of the night.
That's a little bit too much information there, Bob.
Yeah, so Mom said, well, I think I need to get home.
Yeah.
So
and you did
give Mom a break.
You did the right thing.
Yeah.
You did the right thing there, Bob. So let's talk a little bit about Navarre. Their leading passer on the season, Hunter Feaster. He's 41-70, 59%, 9 touchdowns, only 2 picks, 609 yards. James Clark is 10 of 23 for 120 yards and 2 picks. So 729 yards passing on the season for Navarre. Their favorite receiver on the season, Jaden Reese. He's got 16 catches, 295 yards, 6 touchdowns. Terrence Marshall finally starting to hit his stride. 7 receptions, 130, 2 touchdowns, and E.J. Love has the other receiving touchdown. On the ground, it's been E.J. Love, 661 yards in the first 5 games of the season. Easy math, that's about 132 yards a game and 5 touchdowns. The Raiders have turned the ball over 7 times. They've taken it away 11, so they're a +4 in the turnover margin. Second leading rusher for Navarre, James Clark, in a reserve role, 9 carries, 103 yards. On the season, Navarre, 1,056 yards rushing, so 211 yards a game, thereabouts. 145 receiving, so 357 yards per game. Pretty solid for the Raiders. And their third down conversions is starting to come around a little bit. They were off to a little slow start after the first couple of games, now up to 36% on the season. And E.J. Love leading the team, 2 kickoff returns for 140 yards. So that's a 70-yard average. Pretty solid.
Yeah, you mentioned, the offensive statistics, and remember, Pine Forest did a number on us and kept us under our average. So since then, when you take, you add that into the equation, then the numbers are even greater.
So both Terrence Marshall and EJ with a kickoff return. So that's 42 points on the season for EJ, 42 for Jaden Reese, Taylor Gardner with 34. There's your leading scorers. Navarre has outscored their opponents in the first quarter, 48-20, 51-21 in the second quarter, 53-25 in the third, and 17-13 in the fourth, because a couple of running clocks in there as well. So
right.
Averaging 30. You look at my totals, 33.8 per game, giving up 15.8. Pretty solid year so far for the Raiders. And the defense really stopped a Leon rushing attack.
Sure did. And look at what Rickards has done since we played them. I think they've gone 2-1.
Very impressed.
Yeah, and they have a big game this week too. So, and of course, conditions played into a factor, but rain falls on both teams.
That's right. And Navarre didn't. What surprised me most is Navarre did not turn the ball over at all on that rainy turf.
No, we
turf.
We did really well, and I think that's going to play into a key tomorrow night is play as perfect as it. And I realize, yeah, Bob, that's really in every football game, but I mean, when you play a team, now this is not a district game, remember, but it's a ruler. It's a measuring stick to see where we're at. And how do we come off a bye week?
Well, you also got to look at this, Bob. They are in District 2, Mosley, the same classification. So we could end up playing them down the road again.
Correct.
So,
and if we're runner-up, we could play them again, there again.
So,
and if we win, we'd play whoever I assume the runner-up is.
Well, depending on, right now, Gulf Breeze has got the lead in our district at 2-0 after they beat Pace last Friday night. What an offensive performance by the Dolphins last week. But we'll talk about them a little bit later. You're on the defensive side of the ball. Dwayne Clark leading the way with 32 tackles. Joshua Wilson with 28. Xavier Hamilton with 25. Keone Moso with 27. Chase Marshall 23. Dante Cora with 21, and with 20, Landon Mensler. And and that's a young crop there. I know most of you got Dwayne, that's a senior, and you got Chase and Keone as the seniors, but the rest of those are sophomores and juniors. And that tells you what the Raiders will have coming back next year.
Yeah, absolutely. It does look bright.
And Trey Bragg, the leading he has 2 interceptions. Cost fumbles leader, Dwayne Clark. Fumble recoveries, Keone Moso, and his sacks with 3 for Moso as well. Tackles for loss leader, Landon Mensler. And your extra bones. You're going to say, what's extra bones, Bill? Well, that's extra hustle during the game. I think that's a pretty cool stat. And your big hit leader, the sophomore linebacker, Joshua Wilson.
Yeah, those are usually called intangibles that coaches see when they're looking at film, things that, may have happened. Maybe they didn't make the tackle, but doggone, they maybe swung the play wide or stayed in their lane on a kickoff or something like that.
Well, now let's move over to Mosley. They started out with the senior Trey Coker at quarterback to start the season, but they have switched to the sophomore, Sam Freitas. On the season, Sam, 51-84, 61%, 815 yards through 6 games. They have played 6 games. They're 4-2 on the season. 11 touchdowns, only 1 interception. Pretty good ratio there for that young man.
Yep.
Their leading ball carrier, Ferdinand Chima. I think that's Chima, Chima. I'm going to go with
Chima. Yeah.
Chima. 50 attempts, 336 yards, 6.7 average, 2 touchdowns. Our leading receiver. Right now, he is a Florida State commit, Randy Pittman.
Right.
He's our tight end. 18 receptions on the season for 286 yards, 4 touchdowns. Isaac Paul, you remember Isaac Paul from last year. He returned an interception about 90 yards on Navarre for his score right at the end of the first half, if I remember right. And they used the return game, Isaac Paul, Cree Ross, and Randy Pittman as well. Leading scorer, Randy Pittman with 48 points. And their kicking game is solid. Jonathan Harris is back, 22 of 22 extra points, 3 of 5 on field goals. And they are a solid team led by former Washington head coach Tommy Joe Whidden.
Tommy Joe Whidden did a great job, former Niceville quarterback. I remember that. And he's done a great job. It was a great job at Washington and doing an equally good job there at Mosley. Pretty balanced, it looks like. I wonder if the Coker young man is related to the Coker young man that played quarterback at Florida State and then transferred to Alabama.
Not sure. We may have to do some research on that.
Yeah.
But their punting duties will be handled by McLean and Jonathan Harris, their kicker and kickoff specialist. They've outscored their opponents 163 to 113, averaging 27 points a game, giving up 18. They've only turned the ball over on 3 occasions, and they've taken 8 away, so a +5. So 2 teams with a plus ratio into turnover margin. They will look to cause some turnovers tomorrow night.
Yeah, I mean, that's going to certainly be a key to the game, which team can play error-free, penalty-free through 5 games, 4 games. When you have a +4, that's pretty impressive for Navarre.
I'm trying to remember the last time that I've been to Panama City. It has been quite a while for me. I know when Brady was playing soccer, he played a lot of travel games over in the Panama City beach area. And but I think it was the last time I was over there. Guys, Brady's going to be 25 this month. So it's probably about the same time that Navarre last played there in 2011.
Mm-hmm.
So it's been quite a while since I've been over to Panama City. But I'm looking forward to that. They've redone the stadium over there, and looking forward to see where they're going to be putting us up as far as to do the broadcast. But it looks like it's going to be a clear night, so if we have to go outside, it should be pretty nice.
It won't be like the last time.
We don't need another like we had at Rickards. That was not a whole lot of fun.
Or even in Panama City in 2011, when you said cold and rainy.
It was a little cold and rainy before the game. Didn't rain during the game, but it was a little chilly that night.
Mm-hmm.
And
should be a nice night for football.
And we got another game coming up tomorrow. 2 really great games for Thursday night games. Gulf Breeze going to Catholic. That should be an excellent game over there as well.
Yep.
And that might be the difference in some of our picks between those 2 games. But let's go to the defensive side of the ball for Mosley. I just jotted down a few numbers here. Isaac Paul leading the team with 43 tackles. Jabari Reed with 33. Raiden Bruins, only a sophomore, with 32. He's also their leader with 6 sacks on the season and 12 tackles for loss. And 4 quarterback hurries out of the sophomore. He's 6'6", defensive end for Mosley.
And a sophomore?
A sophomore. So it's maybe 16 years old, and he's 6'6".
I bet you he plays basketball too.
I would not be surprised. So there's your numbers. There's the matchup coming up tomorrow night. You'll be able to watch it live on Irish Bill Sports Live on YouTube and irishbillsports.com with the pregame at 6:30 and the kickoff slated for 7.
Yeah, and Bill, I think another key to the game is to keep the ball out of the hands of Mosley. And you say, really, Bob? Hell, you can't score if you don't have the ball.
They can score without the ball.
Yeah, you can. That's right. I I expect Coach Walls to come out with ball control, run the ball, eat time off the clock. Problem is when you got somebody so electric like EJ, the defense may only get to sit for a minute when we have the ball because, he breaks free on those long runs or, feast are thrown over the top. So it'll be interesting how they approach it. I plan to, I'm sure we may go out after the swim meet to eat. If not, we're going to put the game up on the big screen at our house.
And even if you don't catch it, you can always go back and watch it anytime on both of those locations. And well, the games from last week, let's go with those scores. We had a Wednesday night games, we had Friday night games, and we had 2 Monday night games because of the reschedule because of the storm.
Correct.
So it's Wednesday night, South Walton beat Rutherford 46-6. North Florida Christian all over Maclay 58-7. Colquitt County over Lincoln 30-7. Your Friday night games: Escambia 18, Booker T. Washington 15. Catholic over Pensacola 35-8. Pine Forest 54. Fort Walton beats 0. West Florida scores the last 36 points of the ball game to beat Walton 50-29 on the road. Baker 48, Lighthouse 7, Niceville 13, Crestview 9, Monroe Day 54, Rocky Bayou Goose Egg, J 25, Destin 6, Freeport 34, Bozeman 24. Childs knocks off Mosley 28-21. Holmes County over Vernon 42-0. Gulf Breezeville wins a big district matchup against Pace 35-28 on the road. Milton 21, Tate 7. Bay 48, North Bay Haven. Bay back at it after 2 weeks off. Osceola Christian over Franklin County 33-7. Cottondale 30, Weewa 14. Godby 22, Mariana 14. Wakulla in overtime beats Rickards 21-20. Port St. Joe over Bluntstown 24-6. Ed White at Madison County was canceled. Sneeds 34, Liberty County 0. And I believe the St. John Paul II Aquiline Angels Christian Academy was canceled as well.
Yes.
Then our Monday night game, Sewanee over Taylor County. This score surprised me, 38-0. And Jefferson County with the win. Their first on the season, AB FAMU 36-12. So there's all your games from this past week. It's stretched out over 3 days. And now we're going to go ahead and take our commercial break. You're watching Irish Bill's Twist on Sports. That's Seminole Bob. I'm Irish Bill. We'll be back after this word from our sponsors.
Craig Culver of Culver's.
Before farm to table, before field to fork, there was just good, wholesome food. Grown by America's farm families, prepared fresh at Culver's, and always served with a smile. We still cook every Butterburger to order using fresh 100% Midwest beef and craft our frozen custard right in the restaurant using family farm fresh dairy. So thank you, farmers. Welcome to Delicious.
Thinking about selling your property? Call Ursula Householder of Coldwell Banker Realty in Navarre now. The consultation is free, and Ursula uses the best tools the industry has to offer. Her years as a top producer, relocation specialist, and Florida military market specialist will help you get the desired result. If you are buying, Ursula's experience will help you make an informed decision to find the right home for you. And if you mention this advertisement, Ursula will donate $100 to the Navarre Raider Quarterback Club when the deal closes. To find out if you qualify for any of the military rewards, call or text 850-642-5711 or email ursula.householder@cbrealty.com or go to urhouseholderhomes.com. That's urhouseholderhomes.com. Go Raiders!
University Lending Group, located in Harvest Village, is Navarre's local mortgage lender. If buying, selling, or building a dream home is in your future, you need to contact University Lending Group. Jennifer Gomes and Stacy Wright are the loan specialists who have the experience to take you step by step to make your buying, building, or selling experience smooth. See University at 752 Navarre Parkway, Suite 56, or call 850-396-0322.
If you want to move better, feel better, and live better pain-free, Dr. Paul Britt at Integrative Chiropractic Solutions is the only certified sports chiropractor for Gulf Breeze and Navarre. He can address your sports injuries quickly and effectively, and after only 4 visits on average with a 96% resolution rate. So give Integrative Chiropractic Solutions a call today at 850-916-9304 or book online at drpaulbritt.com. That's 850-916-9304 or online at drpaulbritt.com. They want to fix you swiftly to get you back in the game.
A strong work ethic takes pride in a job well done. This is the kind of person you need. Express Employment Professionals can help because we understand what it takes to hire the right person. It takes real people, real interviews. We find good people, matching the right skills with the right jobs from the production floor to the front office. Express knows jobs. Get to know Express. Go to expresspros.com to find a location near you.
Great teams have great support. The Navarre Raiders have one of the best support organizations, the Navarre Raiders Quarterback Club. All the members see to it that the Raiders have all available necessities to keep the Raiders on track. Whether it's seeing to it that they're properly fed, have good transportation, or making sure that all Raider fans can watch and hear all exciting Navarre Raider football action, the Navarre Raider Quarterback Club is there to make it happen. Thanks, Navarre Raider Quarterback Club, for your support of your winning Navarre Raiders on IrishBillSports.com.
Welcome back to Irish Bill's Twist on Sports. Well, we don't need any of this tomorrow night, Bob.
Nope.
Do we?
Not on the pool deck either.
So we're going to cut that off right there. We don't need any more rain. We've had enough this year. As long as we're outside, we need it to be dry. That's right, dry.
At least for about 3.5 hours.
Because you know where we like to be, and we like to be, especially at home, up on the roof.
When this old world.
Yep.
Most definitely. Well, let's get to our picks from last week. Joe led it again. Joe went 18-6 last week. I was right behind, one game back at 17-7. And Bob, you went 15-9.
Yeah, I didn't do well.
So that now puts me 2 games ahead of you on the season.
Okay.
And you and Joe has now caught you. He's 2 games back with you. So Joe has been tearing it up over the last few weeks.
Just a few surprises. Great games last week, and so
Well, we had a couple of them that we all missed together. I mean, we all took Marianne over Godby. Wrong. We all took FAMU over Jefferson County. Wrong. And we all took Bozeman over Freeport. Wrong again. So, but it was a tough week for some schools. They didn't even get to play.
Right.
So it's time to get on to this week's games, and we're going to start right off the bat with 2 Thursday night games as Navarre travels to Mosley, and Big Joe is taking the Raiders, as am I.
Raiders are 3-0 on the road this year. I see that they make it 4-0. It'll raise some eyebrows throughout the state of Florida with this win.
So all going with Navarre. Gulf Breeze travels to Pensacola Catholic. Gulf Breeze is playing very well of late, especially offensively, and they're heading to a team that's still undefeated at 6-0. One of the only area teams at 6-0.
Correct.
Along with Niceville and I believe Pine Forest.
Correct.
So I am going with Gulf Breeze on the road for the victory.
I am too.
And Joe is going with Catholic. There's our only one that we're different on tonight, Joe. So you saw right where it's at. Let's head over to Friday night. Vernon. It's been a long year for Vernon, and it's not going to get any better as they travel over to Apalachicola Bay to take on Port St. Joe.
Port St. Joe averaging close to 400 yards a game on offense, 27 points per game. Vernon averaging 1.2 points per game.
Ouch.
Yeah. So I'm going with the Sharks.
And here we got Niceville heading over to Pine Forest, probably our game of the week. Both teams undefeated on the season, 6-0. They are 2 of the top teams in the area. But Joe and I are going with the home teams. I could say the Eagles, but they're both Eagles.
That's right. Pine Forest averaging 39 points per game. Niceville 26. I'm going with Pine Forest.
We're all going with Pine Forest in that one. Even Joe. Joe went against Niceville again. I believe that's the third time Joe has picked against his own
Maybe
team.
he did it on purpose so Niceville would win.
Tate heading to West Florida. What an impressive comeback win for West Florida last Friday night on the road. Both Joe and I going with the Jaguars.
Make it West Florida to go 4-2 on the season.
Baker heading to Jay. Jay's been playing a lot better.
Mm-hmm.
Baker got taken to the woodshed in their last outing against Northview.
Mm-hmm.
But I'd look for them to bounce back on the war on I-4.
I just had it written down. Battle of Highway 4 on Highway 4. Baker 4-2 on the season. Jay 3-2. Look for Baker to get their 5th win of the season.
So we all going with Baker. Choctaw going on the road to South Walton. South Walton had a nice victory over Rutherford, but they're welcome the Indians, and the Indians are playing very well on the offensive side of the ball.
They are. They're averaging 24 points per game. South Walton averaging 28. Phil Tease is a good friend of ours and the show. This is one you need to. This is a sleeper game. Choctaw could win this game, but I think South Walton pulls it out.
Oh, Bob going with the Seahawks, the home team there. Let's head over to Childs. Crestview hitting down I-10 over to take on Childs. Childs been playing one of the toughest schedules in the Panhandle and Big Bend region so far.
Yep.
And they need to hit stride now because they are in district play now, and this is a big district matchup between Crestview and Childs. Joe and I going with the home teams, the Timberwolves.
Some people will raise their eyebrows. You guys were there. Crestview enters at 2-3, Childs 2-4. I also picked Childs to win.
Okay, let's head over to Osceola Christian over in Monticello. A long road trip for Rocky Bayou.
Yes.
But I'm going to go with the Knights on the road, as is Joe.
I'm going with Osceola Christian at home. Both averaging 30 points per game. Just equal statistics. I'm just give the slight advantage to the home team.
Okay, so we got a little bit of difference there. Rutherford heading across Panama City to go over to Panama City Beach to face off with Arnold. Both Joe and I are going with the home team, the Marlins.
I'm picking a little surprise here. I'm going with, you know what? No, I'm not. I'm going to go with Arnold as well. I started to go with Rutherford, but
Rutherford really struggling on the season.
I just if nothing else, because Arnold's at home, they won 10-7 with a late field goal against Fort Walton. So I'm going with Arnold.
Arnold at home. Okay, next we head over to Bay. Mariana at Bay. That game will also be played at is Tommy Armour?
Tommy
Oliver Stadium.
Mm-hmm.
I'm bad with names. I mean, last week I thought there was Jack Russell, a dog, and it's actually Jack Foster Stadium where
Tommy
Crestview
Oliver,
plays.
a Civil War hero from the area, and that's
I believe Tommy Armour was a golfer.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
You know where my mind is, sports.
Yes. Bay averaging 22 points per game. Now, did they just roll off 2 weeks off, or that was the week before?
They beat North Bay Haven.
Okay.
Last week, 48 to nothing.
So yeah, going with Bay in this game.
Bozeman heading over to Destin. Destin looking for their second win. I don't think they'll get it. I think the Bucks will win this one. Joe thinks the same way.
I agree. Destin, you may have read about it. Their football program, their sports program, received a gift from Trip Tolbert. His given name is Fred, but Trip is the son of Fred Tolbert, who developed the Ramada Inn on
Nice.
Okaloosa Island. As you know, the Tolberts, he and his sister, after Dad died, took over running the business. His sister primarily handled managing, and they recently sold the business So Tripp has endowed $1 million to the sports program.
That is awesome.
So Destin gets a win, not on the football field, but, thanks to Tripp Tolbert and his generosity. I picked Bozeman for the win.
Next we have Chipley heading over to Maclay. Total mismatch here. Chipley 5-0. Maclay struggling on the season at 1-4.
Yeah, Chipley undefeated, another one of those undefeated teams. The Tigers are very strong. I think they've got what it takes, Bill, to go very deep in the playoffs.
And speaking of another team, I think that's what it takes. Northview, the Chiefs, 5-0 on the season as well. They're heading over to Bluntstown. Bluntstown, I believe, 4-2 on the season, and I think they're going to drop to 4-3. Northview just has a little bit too much.
I agree. I think Northview, this will be a contested game, but I think the Chiefs have just too much firepower.
And that's a long trip. You know how far it is from here to Bluntstown.
Mm-hmm.
Northview is 86 miles from
right
Navarre.
on the Alabama state line.
So they're going to come down I-20, down 29 to I-10, and clear across the Panhandle over to the Big Bend region pretty much. And, wow, what a road trip for Northview. But I think they get the W.
Yep.
Make it all worthwhile. Pensacola heading over to Pace. Pensacola struggling this year. And I'm going with Pace, as is Joe.
Pace averaging 32 points per game. I think way too much. Pensacola High goes to 0-7.
Wow. Booker T. Washington heading over to the Tallahassee to take on Godby. Joe and I are going with the road team in this one, Washington.
I went with the home team, Godby.
Okay. Let's head on over to Taylor County. Speaking of long road trips, Lighthouse heading over there. Everett Alfred got his first win a couple of weeks ago, his first year at Lighthouse, but it's going to be a struggle as they head over to Taylor County.
Taylor County lost last week, too. Huh?
Yeah. Tough opponent. One of their rivals, Sewanee.
So they're going to have a little edge, something that Lighthouse, I'm sure, did not want to see happen.
Sneads heads over to Jefferson County. Sneads, another team that's unbeaten on the season. They're 6-0 as well. And they're playing really good football.
I see Sneads winning on the road.
That's a clean wash there. Cottondale heading to Franklin County. Cottondale starting to play a lot better. I'm going to go with Cottondale on the road.
They're 3-2 against Franklin County, 1-5. Cottondale averaging 26 points per game. Franklin County 6. No contest here. Cottondale.
Okay, so we're going to head over to North Florida. Speaking of no contest here, FAMU heading across town to face North Florida Christian, and I'm sure that spread is about 50, maybe more.
North Florida Christian averaging 42 points per game.
FAMU,
42.
FAMU not very much.
Going with actually 19 points per game.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we're all going with North Florida Christian. Gadsden County at Rickards. Joe and I going with the home team, playing much better.
Averaging 27 points per game. Rickards will improve to 3-4.
Next, we head over to Leon. Leon really down, Lincoln up, but they did have lost their last 2 out of 3. But I look for them to rebound against the Lions.
Leon scoring close to 40 points per game, while Leon averaging only 7. Leon goes to 0-6 on the year.
Next, we head over to Weewaw, Liberty County. Coach Tranquil, coach that used to coach at Vernon until this past year and went back home where he graduated high school from at Liberty County. And he should get the win on the road, according to Joe and I.
I'm picking Liberty County in a close game.
Okay, let's head over to Wakulla. I like this contest. St. John Paul II. Wakulla has been playing some very tight games of late. They lost 2 weeks ago to Mosley, 38-28. Last week they had to go to overtime, 21-20 over Rickards. I was leaning towards St. John Paul II, but Wakulla at home is very tough to beat, so I ended up going with the War Eagles at home.
I'm going with the War Eagles as well.
Clearwater Academy coming up from Central Florida to take on Madison County. It's been a kind of a long year under first-year head coach over there, and I look for Clearwater to get it done on the road at Boot Hill.
Yeah, I mean that very many times. Would you say that over the years? The team
Not
coming
too often.
into Clearwater 4-0, averaging 29 points per game. Madison County 2-3, averaging 16.
Wow.
But they don't shy away from opponents. But I'm going with the Clearwater Academy.
And our last game we're going to pick from is Florida High hosting Monroe Day. Joe and I going with the Seminoles at home.
Going with the Seminoles, but watch out for Monroe Day. They're 3-2. Nothing to lose when you got one of those nothing to lose games. They could come and snatch a victory from nowhere from a team.
Let's head on over to our college picks this week. And last week I led the way going 18-8. Bob was at 17-9. Joe 16-10 on the season. Bob has a 1-game edge over Joe and a 2-game edge over me. So we're pretty darn close, Bob.
I'm sorry?
We're pretty darn close.
Well, yeah, we are. Last week I probably would have been even better if I had not picked the Seminoles. But you got to go with your team.
Well, they started out great, but they just Wake Forest took over after that opening drive they struggled a little bit.
I'll talk about them coming up here in a minute.
We got a Friday night game, and you got Colorado State and their new head coach heading back home to. Well, it's not home. His last place he coached was Nevada, and I had to throw this game in there for this week. There's a reason that I threw it in there. Joe and I going with Nevada by a wide margin.
They're favored by 3. I hope they beat them by 103. No, I'm just kidding.
Nothing against Grady.
No.
Former Navarre Raider Grady
Yeah.
Kelly starts on the defensive line for the Rams, but it's just been a struggle so far in 22 for the Rams.
Yeah, when you lose to Sacramento State, that's
An FCS school by 3 touchdowns.
yeah.
And a group of 5 school, Middle Tennessee State at home. That's
Nevada.
okay. Let's head over to Hogtown.
Hogtown.
Mizzou heading over to Florida. Mizzou almost knocked off the number 1 team in the country last week. This week they're going to head to Florida. Joe and I going with Florida, but I think you got an upset pick here, do you not, Bob?
I do. Florida's favored by 10.5. Missouri should have beat Auburn. Shoulda, woulda, coulda, hand grenades.
And what was
Private
funny from
movies.
that game is their kicker missed a 27-yard field goal in that game. But last week he was money against Georgia. 5 for 5 and 3 out from 50 yards or more.
Yeah, our field goal kicker missed one, too.
And I don't know if you have seen this guy. He is a rather large individual that's a kicker.
I have.
He's a big guy.
Yes, he is. He doesn't miss too many meals.
As do we.
Well, that's true. I've got a few pounds on you. I'm going with the Tigers. I mean, Ben Hill Griffith Stadium is a tough place to play. They won Sunday in a game
Eastern Washington?
rescheduled. Yep, against Eastern Washington, as you said. I'm picking Missouri to upset the Gators.
Well, I was all in Indiana till about week 3 against Western Kentucky, and they've been downhill. And they went and got beat by Nebraska last week. So I got no love for my home state. They're not my team, but they're my home state. But Michigan's going to roll on the road in Bloomington.
Bloomington,
At
yes.
Memorial Stadium. Now, get this. Illinois' basketball arena is Assembly Hall. So is Indiana's. Illinois' football stadium is Memorial Stadium. So is Indiana's.
Wow.
So
Interesting.
that's not going to help them this week as Michigan comes to town.
I've got Michigan. Well, I've got Michigan to win. They're favored by 22.5. That's how it started at the beginning of the week.
Yep, that's where all 3 going with them. Louisville going on the road to Virginia. Joe and I going with Louisville on the road playing really solid football.
Playing much better since the Florida State loss. Virginia having a tough year. That might be another place where we see a coaching change. Louisville's favored by 3 in this game.
All 3 of us going with Louisville. Next, 2 upstart programs The last time that TCU was good, they had a redheaded quarterback by the name of Andy Dalton. He's now
Andy Dalton.
Andy Dalton. He's been in the league for quite a while now.
Started with the Saints last week.
Yeah. TCU heading to Kansas.
Game day.
Both undefeated.
Game day.
When was the last time? I don't think we've ever said that at this time of the season.
Oh, no.
Both these teams undefeated.
Maybe in basketball, but not in football.
So here's where Joe and I split. Joe's going with TCU after they put 55 up on Oklahoma last week. Yes, Kansas only put up 14 points last week, but it was enough for the win to stay unbeaten. I'm going with the home team, Kansas. Joe going with TCU. And for the tiebreaker, you're going with?
With TCU favored by 6, I'm going with the Horned Frogs. But I'm glad to see that their game day is going to Kansas this week.
Good old Rocky Top, Tennessee. They're heading to Baton Rouge for a afternoon game. I believe an 11 o'clock kickoff. Maybe 2:30. I have to look at the schedule.
1:30, I
1:30?
think. Maybe not.
You keep on talking. I'll look it up.
Well, the Vols were off last week. We know that. The Vols have wins over Florida and Pitt.
It is a 11 o'clock kickoff.
Ooh.
So
that's early.
And Florida's 11 o'clock kickoff. So that means one thing is our show gets cut short an hour on Saturday because they broadcast high school college football on the ticket, 107.3, or you can listen to from 8 to 11, Irish Bill with Pac-12 Dave and the Georgia Dog, the Southern Gentleman Sports Show. So we'll be on from 8 to 11 this Saturday morning. So you'll hear Florida-Missouri game at 11 o'clock.
Tennessee's favored by 3 over LSU. Vols, as I mentioned, they were off last week. You know, they have wins over Florida and Pitt. How good or how bad do those wins now look that Tennessee had? I'm going with LSU.
Bob going with the home team, the Tigers there.
Hey, Bill.
Wait, who is that?
This Coach O. Otherwise, just known as Ed, because I don't coach anymore. They paid me in Red Bulls.
Red Bulls? That must have been a lot of Red Bull, Coach.
Well, we got a tractor trailer packed behind a condo in Destin, and LSU.
LSU?
Yeah, them too. You know, when they said how much they were going to pay me, you know what I told them? The payout.
It's hard to say, Coach. Sometimes the words coming out of your mouth I can't understand.
Well, I just said, "Where's the door?" When they told me how much my buyout was. You know, I got a good agent. I got me a good agent. So, Bill, I love your show.
Well, appreciate that, Coach. I love when you stop by every Wednesday night once in a while. You probably get some good eats here at Culver's as well, don't you?
Oh, I like that custard. I got to run off the custard, but I love. You know what I do? I get some of that vanilla custard.
Yeah.
And I open up a Red Bull, and I pour it on it. Oh, the cherry.
But
Red
you're not
Bull.
supposed to bring your own stuff into the store, are you, Coach? Or they let you get away with it? Are you good friends with Randy and Honey?
I am. Yeah, I took my shirt off, and they were very impressed. They said, "Don't show up again." But anyway, I just want to say good luck this week to LSU. And, there's some coach openings around the country.
We'll talk about after we go through our picks.
Well, I'm going to put my shirt back on because I see the police just pulled up, and they may be looking for me, so all I can say is go Tigers.
Yeah, Santa Rosa County's finest. They're not too far away. But, wow, I always love it talking with Coach O every Wednesday night. Stops in for a bit. Has a place down here in Destin with one of his blondies over there. And you can see him running out there on off of Highway 98. And he likes to run.
What did I miss?
You miss Coach O.
Oh, crud.
Seems like every time he comes around, you're gone.
Yeah, he takes off his shirt.
Man, you haven't had a chance to meet him yet. He's a pretty cool dude.
No, he just kind of. Well, I want to run behind him or walk behind him because he would block out part of the sun.
And he's pretty darn quick, too, for a guy his size.
Yeah.
So,
Anyway, I picked LSU.
You
to
go with LSU.
win against Tennessee.
Joe and I go with the good old Rocky Top on the road. We're going to head over to Mississippi State. This should be an interesting game. Arkansas at Mississippi State. Joe and I going with Mississippi State in this one.
So last week, I guaranteed a win. I said Pig Suey, Arkansas over Alabama.
You're wrong.
Well, Bill, I'm not Jewish. I wish a happy day of atonement that ends tonight. Started yesterday, and the Jewish faithful spend 24 hours of reflection over the past year and things they've gone wrong and how to improve themselves. And I want to apologize for anybody that was dumb enough to follow my pick last week of Arkansas over, yes, Tim, Roll Tide. I am really impressed with that backup quarterback for Alabama. Holy cow. He broke open on a busted play. Zoom.
Milroy. Yeah, he's definitely they're not worried about quarterback if Young is spending any time out, but it sounds like he won't be out too long.
No, it doesn't, but I mean it's nice having like 2 or 3.
But they didn't miss a beat. I think they played a little bit better because they were up 28-0 early, and then Arkansas cut it to 5, 28-23. Then Milroy came in, and it was turn out the lights, party's over.
They didn't panic
Nope.
either, and I mean,
And it was on a 3rd and 15.
When you've got 3 or 4 5-star quarterbacks on the bench, and you're redshirting one, it's a nice luxury to have. I'm going with Mississippi State in this one. They're favored by 6.5.
We're all going with the home team in state. Next, we're going to head over to we're not playing, they're playing in Dallas, I believe, the Red River Shootout. You got the Texas and Oklahoma. 2 weeks ago, I said no contest, Oklahoma. But after their debacle last week against TCU, I'm going, sorry, Todd, my good friend Todd, that lives in Sweden. It's Texas. And
it's hook 'em horns.
Hook 'em.
Hook 'em horns.
Hook 'em horns.
That means I love you.
Okay, I love you too.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, we're going with the
Hook 'em horns.
horns up.
First time since 1998 that either team has not been ranked. I'm going with Texas.
We're all going with Texas.
OU has given up 96 points in 2 games.
Ouch. And that's their new coach is a defensive coach. I'm sure that's going over really well in practice.
I hope he rented his home.
Next, we're going to head over to Georgia, back to Athens. Auburn coming. Stats-wise, this is a mismatch. Auburn not scoring a whole lot. Georgia, yes, they had an off game the last couple of weeks, but that's not going to last very long. But this is a rivalry game. This is a border game. A lot of the same recruits choose between Georgia and Auburn. And so this is a big game, but I don't look for Auburn to get anywhere near Georgia in this one.
You're going with who?
I am going with Georgia, as is Joe.
They're favored by 29.5. The oldest rivalry in the South. Their campuses really aren't that too far away. That's a head scratcher with Georgia, Bill. I can't figure them out, and I think their fans can't either. What's
they went 3 quarters without a touchdown last week. Luckily, their offense got going in the 4th quarter, and they came back and pulled it out, 26-22 over Mizzou. But that was a raucous crowd there at Mizzou. Once they started out with a solid effort, that crowd got louder and louder and louder. But it sounded like after Georgia started coming back around, they had some fans there of their own, and you really couldn't tell who was cheering, but it was mainly Georgia at the end.
Well, I mean, give Georgia credit on the comeback on the road. That's not something they're used to. They're used to blowing people out and getting the second, third, and fourth string players in the game. Their first stringers not used to playing a whole game. Let's be honest. So, I think we'll find out more about Georgia. If Auburn wins, a big upset, could this save Brian Harson's job?
It could. If not, could he be the coach? Let's talk about that now before we go on. 3 coaches fired so far: Colorado, Nebraska, and the biggest. Some people that say the biggest surprise, but I don't think it's really a surprise to me. Wisconsin's Paul Christ, a Madison-born kid, played at Madison.
Right. Don't forget our coach at Arizona State.
Oh, there's 4.
He got dismissed before he walked off the flipping field.
Really?
What?
Really? That was classless by the Arizona State administration. But so 4 big coaching positions already open.
Yep.
And so Jim Leonard taking over, the defensive coordinator taking over for the remainder of the season, looks at this as an interview going forward. A good young coach looking
for Wisconsin.
Yes, for Wisconsin. There's a lot of names out there that Tom Herman is out there as well. Hasn't coached for a while. Could we see Jamie Chadwell finally leave Coastal Carolina to go to one of these big programs? Urban Meyer, will he ever get back into coaching? Yeah, I doubt it.
He's much better as an analyst.
I don't think he can handle the grind anymore.
Yeah. Oh.
Sorry, I had to
so
get that one in there.
That's so bad.
Oh.
And, you know, Dan Mullen's name has been mentioned for
possible Nebraska or Colorado, I'm hearing.
Colorado could be. Let's see, Mullen was at Mississippi State before he went to Florida, correct?
Mullen was.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I don't know where he was before then. He probably was an assistant. But, yeah, I mean, 4 Division I jobs, not too shabby. I mean, Nebraska.
5 weeks already in.
I mean, that would be probably, if you ranked them 1 to 4, Nebraska would be the least wanted destination, would be the nicest way to say it. But
so we'll see. Let's get on with the rest of our picks. So you guys, I know you're waiting for them. Next, we're going to head over to Pittsburgh, who laid an egg against Georgia Tech last week.
What in the name of Coach Collins?
Pittsburgh will host Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech is down this year as well. I'm going with Pittsburgh at home, as is Joe.
Favored by 14.5, and my comments were, what happened? By the way, that's a 5th coach, Jeff Collins of Georgia Tech, got axed.
Yeah. 5th. Yeah, that's right. Guys, sir, next time I got to use my other hand. Okay, now I think you're going with Pittsburgh.
I am.
Okay, next we're going to go over to Oklahoma State. Texas Tech.
Wisconsin.
Oh, I missed one there. Wisconsin on the road at Northwestern. Northwestern struggling this year. Joe and I going with the Badgers on the road.
I think their team's still in Ireland, don't you think?
Possibly.
Wisconsin favored by 9.5 on the road, going with the Badgers to get off the schneid.
Texas Tech, after beating Texas, they head to Oklahoma State. And Joe and I going with Oklahoma State at home.
They're favored by 10, going with I'm the man.
He's 50 now.
Yeah. I'm going with the Mulleteers.
This next game, earlier in the year, I would have said no contest. Utah traveling to UCLA, but UCLA looked really solid last week against Washington. And I'm going with Utah on the road. Joe and I going with the Utes on the road.
Utah favored by 3. UCLA has won their last 8 games, Bill. I'm going with the Bruins at home.
Wow, nice pick there, Joe.
Bob. Ted, Carolyn, Alice.
Joe. I don't know.
Captain, Doctor, Major.
What's going to be really weird tomorrow night with Brady and Trevor is not calling them, even though Trevor is a Seminole fan.
Yeah, he is. So what is Brady's handle going to be?
It just goes by Brady.
Not Golden Bear. Brady.
I'll ask him. We'll bring that up on the pregame.
What
tomorrow
shorter?
night.
Shorter was the Bears too, weren't they?
No, shorter was the Hawks,
Hawks.
and he doesn't
Brady.
want anything to do with.
Hey, listen, he provided a great education for 3 years, right?
Yep, most definitely for 2 years, a year and a
2
half.
years.
Okay, we got North Carolina heading down to the Miami Gardens to take on the Hurricanes. One hurricane left last week. Is this hurricane going to come back? This one we want. The U fans want this one to come back. The other ones can just dissipate and go away.
Gosh, Miami favored by 4. If Carolina shows up, they could win this. I'm going with Carolina in an upset.
You and Joe going with North Carolina. I'm going with the home team there, Miami. Ohio State heading to Michigan State. And Mel Tucker not having a very solid season. I'm going with the Buckeyes big on the road.
Tucker just got a big extension. Ohio State, Mike.
You know, usually when that happens, usually your team goes down the drain.
It does. Ohio State favored by 25.5. Mike Householders, Buckeyes. I picked to win. Michigan State started strong, but boy, they've gone
faltered.
south.
Next, we have Hottie Toddy going to Vanderbilt, to Nashville, to take on Vanderbilt, the Commodores. I'm going with Ole Miss, as is Joe.
I'm going with Ole Miss. I think Ole Miss is favored by 19. Look out, though. Vandy's pretty tough at home.
Okay, let's head on over to Arizona State, Washington. Hopefully they'll get back up off the hump against that loss at UCLA. Joe and I going with the Huskies on the road.
No Core's team, one of his teams, Washington, at Arizona State.
Washington grad.
Yep. Going with the Huskies on the road.
Next, we've got Clemson starting to play some good ball. And they're heading to Boston College, who's really down this year. And
They won a thriller last week.
against,
Gosh.
I don't think we
You'd have
picked.
to
I don't
ask
think
me.
we picked that game last week. We did not.
Yeah, they won a late field goal. Clemson's favored by 20.5. Going with the Tigers on the road.
Next, we have South Carolina heading to the Bluegrass State to take on Kentucky. Joe and I going with Kentucky at home.
Kentucky favored by 10.5. Kentucky.
Next, we have the Army traveling to Wake Forest, take on the Demon Deacons. I'm surprised they haven't changed their name yet. I mean, never mind. I'm not going to go there.
Army's offense could always gives fits to teams. It's hard to replicate that in practice. Not very many teams actually go and get an option quarterback like Army and Air Force to some degree and Navy. Wake Forest favored by 15.5 in this. I'm going with the Deacons.
We've got a comment from Joe. Joe says Mullen shouldn't get another job. He gave up his team. He gave up on his team at Florida. He's not wrong.
No, agreed.
Let's head over to Illinois, fresh off a big win on the road in Madison, Wisconsin. Their host Iowa, a team that's struggling to put points on the board.
I can't figure them out. I'm going with the home team in an upset. They're favored against Iowa by 3.5, Bill.
Wow. Next, we have Kansas State heading to Iowa State. I know you got a soft spot in your heart for Iowa State.
Yep, ugliest jerseys in America.
Both Joe and I going with Kansas State on the road.
They're only favored by 2. Should be a good game, though, as far as football is concerned. I'm going with the purple. Go K-State.
Next, we head to Vegas, where Notre Dame will be playing against BYU. And Notre Dame favored in this game.
Are they? All right.
Joe and I going with the Irish.
All right. Beginning of the week, BYU was favored by 3.
I'll have to look that one up. Let's head out to Vegas.
Sorry about that.
Head out.
Yeah, the luck of the Irish.
Get to play in that nice new stadium out there.
I think a lot of teams want to play in that nice stadium. Notre Dame does play BYU, not every year, but every 2 or 3 years. This game, like I said, in Vegas.
I believe it's a night game. Yeah, 6:30 on NBC. Notre Dame is favored by 3.5.
3.5. I read it wrong. My apologies. Going with the Catholics.
Okay, next we'll head over to USC, and as they host Washington State. Tough loss for the Cougs at home against Oregon.
Yep.
And they bounced back last week with a win. And I'm going with USC to stay unbeaten.
USC favored by 11. You know, it wasn't too long ago, Bill, that USC was not a very good team. Now they're at top 10, like ranked 7th. I'm going with the Trojans. Fight on.
All three of us going with the Trojans at home. Florida State heading to Tobacco Road to take on NC State. Joe and I going with the Wolfpack at home.
Definitely a potential elimination game as far as this side of the conference, I believe. NC State favored by 3.5. I'm going with the Seminoles to bounce back on the road.
Next we got Texas A&M. Head to Alabama. Which quarterback we will see, we do not know as of yet, but it doesn't really matter. I'm going with Bama at home.
They're favored by 24.5 with a quarterback unknown. So that's a lot of respect. Jimbo Fisher, former disciple of Coach Saban.
Beat him last year.
He did. Wasn't he the first one to do that?
He
first
was.
Former disciple. I don't think it's going to happen this year. There's some rumbling in College Station with Jimbo. They're paying him a lot of jack.
A lot of oil money.
True. Going with the Roll Tiders.
Easy for you to say.
Easy for me to say. I'm gonna say that they cover, Bill. 24.5.
Oregon, in our last game, Oregon heading to Arizona, not Arizona State. This is not your mama's Arizona State. This is Arizona. Oregon huge in this one.
Yeah, only favored by 12, which is interesting. I think Oregon is beginning to gel, if you will. They take a trip south. I have Oregon. Pardon me. Caught me in mid-yawn. Going with my apologies.
Am I keeping you awake here, Bob?
Yeah, really. No, it just was a stupid.
Or am I putting you to sleep?
No, I just long.
Well, there's your
Oregon.
college and high
Oregon.
school picks. That's what I figured. I already got you marked down. For next week's two back in, so you can find out who wore the crown again this week. Speaking of crowns, that's what I get to do Friday morning, a trip to the dentist for a crown preparation. And it's not going to be a fun morning.
I hope they give you a needle this long.
Needles don't bother me. I just close my eyes and just think of it as a big mosquito bite.
Yeah.
But so there's your college and high school.
Like that now, Bill. When you walk
One more
out.
shot. Now we head back. We say, Bill, are you ever going to get back to your Super 7 power rankings and your players of the week? Well, now that you asked, let's get back to it.
Let's get back to it, Bill.
Irish Mill Super 7 Panhandle Power Rankings for Class 3S and 4S, the large schools. Pine Forest stays on top. Niceville, number 2. The Idle Navarre Raiders move up to number 3 as Mosley lost last week to Childs. Gulf Breeze stays at number 5. Escambia moves up to 6. Pace falls to number 7 after they lost a close one to Gulf Breeze. In the small schools, Catholic stays on top 6-0. West Florida moves up to number 2 with their win over previously unbeaten Walton. Baymoot stays at number 3. Walton changes spot with West Florida as they drop to number 4. Chipley and Northview are idle. They will be at 5 and 6, and Sneeds comes in at number 7. Our players of the week, we're going to head down Highway 98, not very far here. Gulf Breeze's Battle Alberson. I love that name, Battle. Battle Alberson went 23 for 33, for 411 yards passing against Pace this past week and 2 touchdowns. And he added a rushing touchdown in that huge 35-28 district win over Pace. So our offensive player from Gulf Breeze, Battle Alberson. Only a junior.
I like that.
Next, our defensive player, we're going to head over to Cottondale. Marquise Johnson totaled 18 tackles in a 30-14 win over Weewa-Hitchcock last Friday night. And our special teams players, as we're going to head to West Florida, but they were at Walton. And I've been practicing this name because I had to get it right. I want to make sure I did. West Florida's Efron Escafullet, ESCARFULLET.
Efrain, EJ, yep.
He goes by EJ. He's a one-on-one kicking trainee, and he went 7 for 7 on extra points last week and contributed 4 touchbacks as the Jaguars scored the last 36 points in a 50-29 comeback win over Walton.
That's very impressive. I mean, that's a great weapon to have with 4 touchbacks.
Most definitely. And I looked at that score. I was sitting with Joe at the Niceville Crestview game, and it was 29-14 Walton. I said, wow, Walton's at it again after they put 61 up against South Walton. But no, not knowing that would be the last points that they scored, and West Florida would score 36 straight points. So your offensive player of the game of the week from Gulf Breeze, Battle Alverson. From your defensive player from Cottondale, Marquise Johnson. And your special teams player from West Florida, Efron Escar-Follet.
We're going to have our offensive and defensive high school names of the year at the end of the season.
Okay, that sounds like a plan.
Like Battle. I mean, Battle.
Oh, our all-name team. Yeah, I like it.
All-name team.
So Battle, Marquise, and EJ, congratulations on your honors. A lot of great efforts throughout the Panhandle. I'll have those posted later, either tonight or tomorrow. But I'll have to get ready, do final prep for Navarre's game tomorrow night. So You'll be able to look at those on Irish Bill's Facebook page, Irish Bill's Twist on Sports, my group page, or go out to our on my website, irishbillsports.com, and see the rest of the performances. There's a lot of them. It takes me a few hours to get all this information, and don't want to miss any one of our excellent efforts here in the Panhandle. And it's a lot of great talent around here, Bob.
Yep, absolutely.
It is Bob. I did get it right that time. So we're going to go ahead and take our last commercial break of the night, and then we'll come back with our last segment. This is Irish Bill's Twist on Sports. Seminole Bob, Irish Bill from Culver's in downtown Navarre. We'll be back after this commercial break.
Craig Culver of Culver's.
Before farm to table, before field to fork, there was just good, wholesome food. Grown by America's farm families, prepared fresh at Culver's, and always served with a smile. We still cook every Butterburger to order using fresh 100% Midwest beef and craft our frozen custard right in the restaurant using family farm fresh dairy. So thank you, farmers. Welcome to Delicious.
Thinking about selling your property? Call Ursula Householder of Coldwell Banker Realty in Navarre now. The consultation is free, and Ursula uses the best tools the industry has to offer. Her years as a top producer, relocation specialist, and Florida military market specialist will help you get the desired result. If you are buying, Ursula's experience will help you make an informed decision to find the right home for you. And if you mention this advertisement, Ursula will donate $100 to the Navarre Raider Quarterback Club when the deal closes. To find out if you qualify for any of the military rewards, call or text 850-642-5711 or email ursula.householder@cbrealty.com or go to urhouseholderhomes.com. That's urhouseholderhomes.com. Go Raiders!
University Lending Group, located in Harvest Village, is Navarre's local mortgage lender. If buying, selling, or building a dream home is in your future, you need to contact University Lending Group. Jennifer Gomes and Stacy Wright are the loan specialists who have the experience to take you step by step to make your buying, building, or selling experience smooth. See University at 752 Navarre Parkway, Suite 56, or call 850-396-0322.
A strong work ethic takes pride in a job well done. This is the kind of person you need. Express Employment Professionals can help Because we understand what it takes to hire the right person. It takes real people, real interviews. We find good people, matching the right skills with the right jobs from the production floor to the front office. Express knows jobs. Get to know Express. Go to expresspros.com to find a location near you.
World starts getting me down, and people are just too much for me to face. I climb way up to the top of the stairs, and all my cares just drift right into space. On the roof it's peaceful as can be, and there the world below can bother me. Let me tell you now, when I come home feeling tired and weak, I go up where the air is fresh.
Welcome back to Irish Bill's Twist on Sports here at Culver's in downtown Navarre, week number 7. Hard to believe. It's just going by way too fast. And as I look down at the commercial break, and yes, we did have a hot mic that whole time.
Sorry about that.
Luckily, hopefully we didn't say anything.
No, it was
not worth saying.
We were looking at the protester who ran on the field of the 49er game.
What was he thinking? He wasn't.
Yeah, and Bobby Wagner laid him out. He is now suing Wagner and the Rams, I guess, for damages.
You're lucky you only got hit by Bobby Wagner and not Aaron Donald.
Aaron Donald.
God, that would have been ugly.
Or both of them.
Or both of them together. You get everything you deserve when you go out on the field to play. I mean, one, you're breaking the law, especially with the security issues that we've had. A lot of the breaches and everything this past couple of years. The last thing you want to do is piss the security and the policemen off, especially in San Francisco.
Yeah, I go back to was it Wimbledon one year or the Italian Open where wasn't Martina Navratilova, but Steffi Graf, wasn't she assaulted? Somebody attempted to stab her or did stab her, a fan. So you always worry about things like that. They don't know what.
I think it was Sharapova.
Maybe it was Sharapova, but I mean, you just never know when you're in the public eye what people are going to do. Kind of like last week when our friend from the Pensacola News Journal was staring at us through the whole broadcast.
I had no idea.
We had no idea.
It was like, gosh,
who it was Greg, right?
Greg Hollis.
Yeah.
He writes for which is also Pensacola News Journal and Northwest Florida Day News are under the same company. So he covers a lot of the Navarre and Pensacola area. But I'm actually thinking about, since you're going to be off next Wednesday, you have a meeting that you have to attend. Maybe I'm going to throw it out to Greg to see if he wants to join us. Greg Hollis, a local, in his first year writing and covering sports here in the Panhandle, Florida, and does a great job over there with Seth Stringer and at the Northwest Florida Daily News. Hopefully he can join me next.
I mean, 7 weeks into the year, and as we were talking after the broadcast, he was up on a lot of, I mean, when you've got to cover so much area and know some of the key players, it was very impressive.
And he lives here in Navarre.
Yep. So my apologies for missing out.
I was wondering, God, who is this guy? He just keeps looking over here. He's not eating. He didn't eat at all.
Right.
So it's like, okay, did I say something on the air the previous week where it was a football player's dad that didn't agree with what I said?
Yeah.
And but no, it was Greg Hollis.
So so I've got some school business I have to attend to. My apologies for ditching out. One of the first Wednesday shows I've missed. But my apologies. I'll be back at full strength for the Milton game, I believe. Correct?
Milton, Pace, and then Gulf Breeze, and then we finish up at home against Niceville. So the next after this week, the last 3 out of 4 will be at home.
Home, yes. Yes.
The comfy confines of Bennett C. Russell Stadium.
Yes.
Speaking of Bennett C. Russell Stadium and former Navarre Raiders, Michael Carter had a rough week last week, but his Jets did win over Pittsburgh 24-21. Jordan Jefferson had a nice game, 5 tackles in the loss to Texas. Eastern Tennessee's University of Quinn Caballero not getting much playing time. He's a senior there. Eastern Kentucky, Josh Carter, he's there for his first year. They won over Southern Utah this past week, 35-28. James Segrest, a redshirt sophomore at University of Louisiana, they lost to South Alabama last week, 20-17. Harding's Mitchell Hunt, they had a 38-23 win over Oklahoma Baptist. Huntington College, no stats from that game that I could see. The home team didn't post any, so I haven't seen any, but Tyler England probably had another great game in that one as they beat Maryville College,
no doubt,
42-28. He's got some other Raiders there with him, Jabari Mitchell, Bailey Houston, and Caden Howard. Valdosta State, a rough one last week as they gave up 70 to Delta State in a 70-31 loss last week.
I mean, a loss is alarming, Valdosta, but to getting beat by 39?
39.
Yeah.
And for one, have to travel from Valdosta, Georgia, up to Cleveland, Mississippi. It's in the very northwest corner of the state.
Right.
It is from someone that's drove from Navarre to there for Brady's game. That is a long drive. It's a 5.5-hour drive from Navarre. And so I couldn't imagine from Valdosta. That's even further. So they went on the road for a long road trip and then didn't have positive results. North Carolina Wesleyan, you got Zachary Marskis and Mecky Domino. They didn't play in a 37-22 win over LaGrange. University of West Florida, Devin Wright did not play, but they won a thriller, a 34-31 win on campus last week against North Greenville. Millsaps College, Sebastian Melendez, he got in a 30-27 win over Sewanee. That's not the high school, that is the college. Used to be a power in college football years ago.
Yep. Howard, that's where Bobby Bowden went to school. If it's that Howard.
Next, we have Faulkner University quarterback Kyle Chambers not playing, but they had a 49-17 win over Campbellsville University, Kentucky. And Weber International and Warner University were supposed to play each other, but unfortunately, a storm by the name of Ian came in and took care of that.
Mm-hmm.
But we just talk about that. We want to send out our prayers and best wishes to all those down in Southwest Florida. We know what they're going through. We've been through quite a few. Massive destruction, loss of life. We pray that things start going in your favor. Still a lot of houses without power down there. Still trying to uncover some things that are completely covered up by the surge and everything. And
schools may be shut in some areas because if they were not damaged, then they're being used for shelters. But I did notice a good number of high schools last week, Bill, played, or maybe it's this week, playing 4 o'clock games.
Okay.
On either Friday or Saturday.
So we send you all our best down there to Southwest Florida. And the other coast, well, it's still our coast, but it's in the South. But so now let's head over to, speaking of the South, Gulf South Conference.
Mm-hmm.
Delta State, they're off to 5-0 start. They're the only undefeated team in conference play as they beat Delta State last week 70-31. Mississippi College over West Georgia in a tight one, 39-38. West Florida over North Greenville, 34-31. West Alabama makes short effort out of Shorter University, 37-14. This week's coming up. Delta State will travel to North Greenville. Shorter will go off to Clinton, Mississippi to take on Mississippi College. West Florida will travel over to Carrollton, Georgia to take on West Georgia. And West Alabama will take the long road from Livingston on over to Valdosta this weekend. All district games, all conference games coming up this weekend. In SIAC games last week, Albany State takes down Miles 20-3. Our good friend Jack Spradlin with a 44-yard field goal for Miles as he replaced Brady over there. Benedict 45, Fort Valley State 13. Lane 28-27 over Eddie George's Tennessee State team. And Edward Waters over Morehouse 49-20. Tuskegee over Clark. Atlanta 45-43. Central State over Allen 35-32. And Kentucky State over Savannah State 28-13. This week's game, Kentucky State at Lane, Fort Valley State at Central State, Virginia University Lynchburg at Savannah State. Miles travels over to Columbia, South Carolina to take on Benedict. Benedict is 5-0 on the season. And Clark Atlanta at Allen, and Albany State at Edwards Waters over in Jacksonville. So there's your Gulf South Conference and SIAC updates for this week, Bob.
Yep. Joe sent a message, and I can't read it. I don't have my glasses
He said,
on.
Niceville wide receiver Maddox Fayard had 12 receptions and 139 yards in a win over Crestview last week, and he's number 3 in receiving yards in the whole state.
Wow.
I had a chance to see this young man, and of all the games that I've seen some good wide receivers, but this young man reminds me. I'm going to throw a name out there that you might recognize. Remember a kid by the name of Chris Weaver that played at Navarre in the 2006, 2007?
Yeah.
Not a very big kid, about 5'6", 5'7", great route runner, great hands. This is a clone of Chris Weaver. Maddox Fayard. Every time Niceville needed a big clutch play, Harrison Orr found Maddox Fayard. And if a ball touches his hand, it's not going to the turf. He's going to catch it.
Is that
very, very impressed with
is that
Maddox Fayard.
Lionel Jr.'s son?
I believe so.
Yeah.
But great sports family over there.
Lionel Fayard, a legend over at Choctaw.
And he's not very big, but I tell you, this kid can flat out catch a football.
Tyler England could do the same, too.
And he's doing the same at Huntington.
Still doing the same.
Got a rant for us this week, Bob? Or
no, I said it earlier when I talked about the Day of Atonement and opportunity to think about people we've wronged, things we've done wrong, try to improve. You try to make yourself better today than you were yesterday. And so I'll have, including the bye week, 2 weeks off to regenerate. Hopefully,
you will be missed.
Appreciate that. I hope the fans will be able to hear me at home. Our game against Leon for homecoming.
We were kind of a little outspoken.
Ooh. And what?
Not us. We were spoken over.
And I woke up like at 2 o'clock in the morning. I watched I tried to listen to part of it, and the replay, and it's amazing that nobody said anything during the game. I woke up at 2 o'clock in the morning, remembering that those were those type of speakers had volume controls on them, so I could have turned the volume down.
I don't know if they would have liked that very much, but oh well. Well, we may find I know there's going to be a couple of games where Navarre is going to be on TV. I don't know which one. I think the Gulf Breeze game and possibly the Pace game. So we may be back up on the roof. But thinking about, depending on the weather, against Milton, I think we may head back inside the press box just to get away from the loudspeaker.
Yeah, just try to improve ourselves.
Most definitely. We're always looking for improvement. If you got any feedback for us, that's what we like, the YouTube chat. Keep it respectable, please. But we do accept feedback, and we appreciate the feedback for each and every broadcast that we do, and even our show. So, but I think we said enough. We've got a big game tomorrow night.
Yep,
Brady
Thursday.
and I and Trevor will be heading over to Panama City. Mosley and Navarre tomorrow night, 7 o'clock kickoff, right here on Irish Bill Sports Live on YouTube and irishbillsports.com. And I think I've said enough for one night, so may the wind never be at your back. It's going to be short-lived because we'll be back on the air tomorrow night from Panama City.
Appreciate it. It's greater to be a Raider.
Most
Good night,
definitely, and
Navarre.
may the wind never be at your back. This Irish Bill signing off